Hi, it's Steve. Today we'd like to show you how to change a broil element on your range. It's a really easy repair. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we'll need to do is pull the range forward and also disconnect the power. You can simply unplug it or locate the electrical panel, turn off the appropriate breaker, or remove the appropriate fuses. Once we've done that, we can start the repair. Now that we have the power disconnected, our next step will be to open up the oven door. Now with this particular model, we find it easier to actually remove the door completely from the range. So with the door in the broil position, simply grasp both sides, pull straight up, and then we'll set the door aside. We'll next remove the oven racks. And now we have easy access to that broil element, and we can go ahead and change it. Now that we have the oven door removed and our racks removed, we have easy access to the retaining straps across the top of the oven liner. So we're just going to remove those screws first. We'll just set those brackets aside. Now before we remove the last screw for that front bracket, we'll also remove these two screws at the back that secure it to the rear wall. Now next we'll pull that element towards us, keeping in mind that there are wire terminals at the back that may cause a little bit of restriction. So if at all possible, we should be able to pull that element far enough into the oven body that we can disconnect the two wires from the terminals. And just put a little bend in that wire to make sure that it doesn't pull back through the opening. We can now discard the old element. Now before we install the new one, just have a quick look at the terminals on the end of those wires to make sure there's no signs of any corrosion or arcing, and if so, you'll want to replace those. That may involve removing the back panel on the range to do that. Now as well, you want to make sure that they fit very firmly and tight on the terminals on the end of the element. If they appear to be a little bit loose, we'll simply take a pair of needle nose pliers and give them a little bit of a crimp to make sure that we get a good connection. Now once we have those wires attached to the element, we're simply going to push it back through the opening. And we'll try not to disturb the insulation any more than we have to. Now once we have it pressed up against the back wall, we'll take those two short screws that we removed from the rear wall and attach it to the mounting tabs. Now once we have it attached to the back wall, we just want to line up those individual passes of the element into the recessed area on that heat shield at the top of the oven. You may need to manipulate that element a bit to make that fit properly. And once we've done that, we'll go ahead and put one of the mounting straps in place. We suggest you start with the front one and attach the center screw. So we'll just start that screw and move the element till it sits flush. Now once we have the center screw tightened, we'll go to the outside edges and install those. Again, we want to make sure that we don't pinch that element. Make sure it sits firmly into that channel. Next, we'll install the rear mounting bracket. And again, we won't tighten that center one until we locate the holes for the end ones. Now that we have the element firmly attached to the ceiling of the oven liner, we're ready to put the racks back in and the door back on. So we'll simply reinstall those racks. And then we'll pull those hinges out to the broil position. And then we can simply slide the door down over those. And then we can close up the oven door, and your repair is complete.